I cannot wait to get into the Dawn of War 4 multiplayer scene when the game finally releases on September 17th later this year. And I know you can't wait either. Everything we've seen so far from Dawn of War 4 sounds awesome, and it definitely looks incredible, but its looming release continues to beg the question that's been on every interested multiplayer RTS player's mind. Can Dawn of War 4 penetrate the modern competitive RTS landscape, and will it have the staying power to find a consistent place amongst both newer modern titles and goated legacy RTS staples? Will it replace its own predecessor's remaster that's managed to maintain a respectable player base and active multiplayer community since its launch? Or will it putter out into oblivion like a fart in the warp mere months after its release, like so many RTS titles before it, as players return to their tried and true favorites? There's only one reason why I'm not 100% convinced just yet, but I am probably about 89% convinced, and I'll tell you why. But first, let's quickly look at the current competitive multiplayer RTS ecosystem. Everybody knows that the two undisputed Giga Esport titles that maintain huge player numbers and audiences are Age of Kings and StarCraft Brood War. Trying to compete with these with something new is like trying to convince people you created Soccer 2.0 or reinvented cricket. It's just not going to happen, and that's not what King Art Games, or any sane developer for that matter, is trying to do. Even StarCraft 2 rose and fell behind its indomitable predecessor, but I'm not sure if that was to do with the rise of MOBAs, or the shift in players' mindsets perceiving RTS games as inaccessible, or the game's inability to disrupt the cultural dominance of SC Brood War PC bangs throughout South Korea, or if Blizzard had just overdosed on titty milk by that point and stopped trying. Who knows? There's also the perception across wider gaming mainstream audiences that RTS is a dead genre, which I would argue is far from true. Every year there are literally tons of new and interesting titles, and it's not impossible for these to find consistent player bases and form thriving communities, no matter their size. For instance, of particular interest to me are things like Dorf, a nostalgia-infused love letter to RTS games that looks like it was ripped straight out of the late 90s or early 2000s, and this looks incredible. Imperium Eternal is another one. It's a modern take on the spiritual successor to the Empire Earth games. That's cool stuff. Everybody loves the idea of out-teching your buddy and dropping a nuke on his Renaissance-era capital. Ephemeris is an upcoming 3D space RTS, and it looks like what Homeworld 3 should have or could have been. Speaking of Homeworld, Zero Space looks like the love child of it and StarCraft 2 mixed with what I can only describe as some Mass Effect-ass looking cutscenes, but goddamn does this look interesting. The point is that RTS is far from dead. It's just a niche in the truest sense of the word. They're developed and some stick, like Age of Empires 4, Company of Heroes 3, and Broken Arrow, while others simply don't, like the tragic story of Stormgate and the recent Tempest Rising. The current trend many of these new RTS titles seem to follow is that many players jump in for the single-player campaign and then promptly leave, never to come back because there's just not enough interesting content, game modes, or updates to maintain a healthy meta to keep them hooked or engaged. Either that, or developers don't implement the features necessary to incubate a beautiful, healthy multiplayer scene baby in the first place. Now, Dawn of War looks absolutely solid in that first regard, boasting 4 full-length story mode campaigns playable both solo or in co-op, which was a nice surprise to me. I had no idea. Boasting approximately 40 minutes of cutscenes per faction and all the Warhammer 40k goodness the battle for Cronus will entail. Now, that's a great start for onboarding players of all kinds, but King Art Games haven't stopped there. On top of all of that, it's confirmed that on launch, we'll be getting a Last Stand mode, which, come on, everybody enjoys a good horde-based Last Stand mode, especially if it can support up to 4 players in co-op. And alongside the launch date reveal trailer, they also gave us a look at the roadmap for the next year. This includes Return of the Crusade mode that I think we saw in Dawn of War 1, multiple map packs, new heroes for the Necrons and Orcs, 2 story expansions, and eventually a mission editor, and a brand new faction slated for spring next year. I've seen some discussion debating whether adding tons of new factions as DLC is a good thing or a bad thing for Dawn of War 4, but I would love to see it enter the same territory as the Dawn of War 1 remaster, fleshed out with every single faction playable from the Warhammer tabletop. It just makes sense, right? And if that money continues to support the game and maintain a healthy multiplayer scene, all the better. So from a post-release support standpoint, it looks like Dawn of War 4 has absolutely everything going for it. I'm hyped, you're probably hyped, it all looks hunky-dory for King Art Games. How could this game possibly miss? But like I said in the beginning of the video, I'm only like 89% convinced they'll hit this out of the park. For Dawn of War 4 to seriously occupy a slot in the current RTS landscape, it needs to take its competitive multiplayer seriously. Dawn of War 1 still has an avid viewership and player base, and the biggest reason this is possible is because of the inclusion of the most important multiplayer features that don't sound as sexy or impressive on a future roadmap. Unfortunately, as of recording this video, it remains unconfirmed that things like replays or a spectator mode and even ranked matchups will make it into the game on launch. And if they're absent on launch, it'll be a real shame, because if these features, crucial to allowing the community to flourish at a competitive level, aren't in at launch, then once players have experienced everything the game has to offer with its finite single-player campaign, and once everybody's squeezed as much fun as they can out of Last Stand mode, there won't be much left for us to enjoy. Interest will surely wane, and the trend we spoke of earlier simply repeats itself, as Dawn of War 4 doom spirals into oblivion. But if they're timely with their updates, and if these features make it in, and granted of course the game is fun in the first place, and at least taps into some of the essence of what made Dawn of War 1 so enjoyable for so many players, we could have a respectable title that could accomplish what so few RTS games are able to do. I would love to live in a world where Dawn of War 4 sits comfortably alongside the other modern RTS games that manage to hang on to their communities and player bases. It's just going to need a bit of attention from the developers post-launch to make it happen. Apart from an atrociously bad Adeptus Mechanicus trailer and the lack of an open multiplayer beta, everything else appears to be there, propping Dawn of War up for a successful launch that other developers would actually kill for. An excited pre-built-in fanbase coming from older Dawn of War titles, alongside a surge of interest thanks to the general rising popularity of 40k, tons of eager RTS fans looking for a new game to call home, and at least 12 Dawn of War 3 players. All we need are the tools to make it happen. Let's hope King Art Games don't miss out on a great opportunity to support and encourage the creation of a community that could keep us engaged and eager to play. If they put 1/4 of the effort into competitive multiplayer that they appear to be putting into the impressive list of features this game already has, we could be in for some very exciting times. Even StarCraft 2 is seeing a resurgence of interest because Blizzard decided to take the titty milk bottle out of their mouths for 2 seconds and decided to drop the first patch StarCraft 2 has seen in 11 years. But I'm interested to know what you guys think as well. Let me know where you think Dawn of War 4 will slide into the pantheon of RTS games in the modern RTS landscape. And as always, thanks so much for watching. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you want more, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.